So shortly after the release of Super Mario Bros. 2 in Japan, development began for a third Super Mario Bros. The game was originally developed with a bird's eye view similar to the original Legend of Zelda, where the player would be looking down at the characters and their surroundings. However, with this being a platformer, it was extremely hard to tell if Mario was standing on the ground or was in the air. So they changed it to the formulaic side-scroller that Mario was known for. Don't fix what ain't broke. Game designer and director of the game Takashi Tezuka, who also served as both for the Lost Levels, didn't want a repeat of the last game he designed for where it looks like Mario 1 but with more levels and a higher difficulty. So the formula remained the same, but graphically everything was reworked. The development team consisted of 20 to 30 people as opposed to Mario 1's 7 to 8. The programmers created what they call a map room. Mario 3's only sound designer Koji Kondo admitted that it was difficult to produce music for the genre of the game. And bless that man, because Mario 3's soundtrack is some of the best the series has ever had. I know I'm jumping the gun on the music too early, but if you've never heard a single track from Mario 3, you get on that right away. Like right now. Just do it. Each track perfectly reflects the mood of each level, world, and environment that you're in. From the overworld theme, to the athletic theme, to the other water theme, to the castle theme, to the fortress theme. Without a doubt, a lot more varied than the previous titles. Anyway, the game was originally set to release in spring of 1988, but because they have so many new features that they wanted to include in the new game, they decided to push it back another 6 months. However, the Western audience wouldn't see an official release till 2 years after. This was due to a combination of Super Mario Bros. 2 USA releasing the exact same year as Super Mario Bros. 3 in Japan, as well as a shortage of ROM chips at the time. In 1989, Universal Studios approached Nintendo of America of a video game movie called The Wizard. The film, released in 1989, was where the Western audience got their first preview of the game. Mario 3 was released in 1990 in North America and 1991 in Europe. Bowser has returned and sends his 7 children known as the Koopalings to conquer each country of the Mushroom Kingdom. The Koopalings steal the magic wands of each king and warp them into helpless creatures. Once again, it's up to Mario and Luigi to stop the Koopa's plans and restore order. Surprisingly, Peach isn't captured this time. I like the intro of the game where the curtains roll up and Luigi just decides to steal the spotlight and jump on Mario's head. And then he decides to throw a Koopa shell at his brother. You little prick, this is why we stick to one player. Like Mario 1, you choose between 1 to 2 players, either solely playing as Mario, or having a buddy join in as Luigi. When starting the game, you're introduced to an overworld map, basically a map hub where you can travel from level to level, or other spots such as the Toad House where you can choose between 3 chests for a random power-up, and the Spade panel where you have to match the item together for a few 1-ups. I used to fail at these a lot when I was young, as this requires perfect timing to get the matchup together. I'm sort of better at these now than I was when I was younger, and I got most of them right during this recording. I enjoy the world maps as I love seeing the visual progression. It makes the game feel more lively, giving it more depth and personality. The music choice for each overworld heavily reflect the tone of each setting. Grassland sounds super cheery, Desertland sounds very Egyptian. Kudos for Koji Kondo for the aesthetical music choices. World 1 is restricted to one small map, but it fits for the first area of the game. When you get to the other worlds of the game, you'll see that the map expands a bit more, making the worlds a lot more exciting to get through. If you're playing through 2 players, you can head to your buddy's space and compete with him or her in a minigame of the original Mario Bros., where instead of working together to defeat enemies, you'll have to collect 5 coins before the other player. Gameplay-wise, Super Mario Bros. 3 is a direct follow-up to the original Super Mario Bros. Well, if you live in the Western territories where we got Doki Doki Panic as Super Mario Bros. 2. But compared to Mario 2 Japan, The Lost Levels, which was mostly just Mario 1 but with a harder difficulty, this is a completely new game in its entirety. You still bash blocks to get coins and power-ups, you fight Goombas and Koopa Troopas, you avoid or destroy piranha plants, and you get to the end, except instead of the flagpole, you're rewarded with a neat little game as your goal. Hit it to either get a star, fire flower, or mushroom. Not like a literal power-up, but a chance to earn more 1-ups. Whatever you end up getting on the first stage, you'll want to get 3 in a row upon completing the next 2 stages. For example, if you get a star on the first stage, and then the second stage, and then finally the third stage, you get celebrated and rewarded 5 1-ups. I believe it's less if you get 3 of the other 2, but if you don't get a matchup, it's usually 1 extra life. Mario 3 has an assortment of new power-ups this time around. Of course, there's the return of Fire Mario and Star Mario, but introducing the main power-up of the game, Raccoon Mario, which you can obtain by collecting a Super Leaf. When wearing the raccoon suit, you can hit enemies with your tail, or sprint and build up speed to take off into the air for a limited amount of time. There's also the P-Wing, which is Raccoon Mario with unlimited flight. I usually use this power up for levels that I just can't be bothered with. You'll be flying through the air throughout the level until you reach the goal. Very useful power up, and I wouldn't recommend skipping this one. The frog suit turns you into Frog Mario. Great suit underwater as it lets you swim faster, but is useless on land as it heavily impedes your movement. There's also the more rarer power ups like the Tanuki suit. It's just a raccoon suit except Mario can now turn into a statue. What does it do? Well, it helps you avoid enemies and defeat them. Okay. And likely the rarest power-up of the game, Hammer Mario. Throughout most of my playthroughs, I was only able to find this suit in World 610. If you know of the Hammer suit's other locations, leave a comment down below. I would love to know. There's also items that you can use exclusively on the world map, most notably the recorder, also known as the warp whistle. There's a total of 3 whistles hidden within 3 areas of the game. Using one summons you to World 9, also known as the warp zone, allowing you to warp between worlds 2 to 8. As a kid, when I first learned of the whistle, I definitely went out of my way to find them just so I can see what the other worlds looked like. I wanted to see how awesome and colorful the other worlds look like. I wanted to see how cooler the worlds look like compared to Grassland, and I love Grassland, but I want to see what's up ahead. Nowadays, ironically, I still collect the warp whistles, but I never use them. I just collect them just because, out of habit. But it's nice to have the option if you're having trouble beating the game. But since this is Mario 3 and I love this game, I like to beat this game to its fullest. As for other items, there's a white tooth-shaped power-up that lets you skip levels. I don't know what that is, but it's useful, especially for levels that you don't want to go through. And there's the hammer, which demolishes boulders blocking your path. So starting with this game, you're now given an item inventory, where if you go to the world map, you'll be able to check out an inventory holding all the items you've collected. These range from items from Toad houses, defeating Hammer Brothers, and letters that Princess Peach sends you. There's a fortress in each world where you have to face off against Bowser's henchman Boom Boom. 3 hits to the noggin and he's dead. He does learn new attacks as you progress through the game, but try not to give him the chance to use them. At the end of each world, you'll find that Bowser's kids has stolen each of the king's wands and turned them into animals. Then you aboard the airship where you have to avoid all their booby traps to reach the Koopalings for a fight. There's Larry Koopa, Morton Koopa Jr., Wendy O. Koopa, the only daughter in the family, Iggy Koopa, Roy Koopa, Lemmy Koopa, and Ludwig von Koopa. The controls are perfect, and for me, this is the best Mario has ever controlled in a 2D game. He feels a lot more floatier when he jumps compared to Mario 1, but that just makes him feel more comfortable. The floatiness makes platforming feel a bit more secure as opposed to overshooting platforms. You now have a running meter where if you fill the meter up by building enough speed, Mario can dash forward. Even if both the worlds and levels are mostly themed, you never know what to expect. Mario 3 is jam-packed with a huge variety of levels to go through. Each level gives you many different types of challenges that it never feels like a dull moment. You have your regular basic and easygoing levels, your auto-scrolling levels where you have to jump on platforms and act quick before you get left behind, a level where you have to avoid an angry sun, which is one of the more memorable levels in the game, a level where you explore inside a pyramid, levels where you have to avoid being eaten by boss bass above the surface, underwater levels where you have to avoid the female counterpart Big Bertha. Even all of your fortress levels give you different and unique challenges. Some fortress levels are a breeze, but others can be like a huge maze where you have to navigate and find your way to Boom Boom. There are many fans that are split on this opinion, but I love Giant Land. When you were a child, seeing all your enemies larger than life was exhilarating. And getting past the Sledge Brothers did give you a bit more of a challenge. There's even a level where if you go through a door, you can switch the enemies back to their normal size, and go back in to switch back to their giant size. A new mechanic which is one of my favorites is the ability to slide down hills, especially when there's a huge amount of enemies down the hill to knock out of your way. Very satisfying. I really enjoy the airship levels as they can sometimes be really tricky to get through, even as an adult. And I love the Koopaling fights. Some of them, while pretty easy, can still be pretty fun. Others will give you a bit of a hard time, such as Wendy with her rings and Roy and Ludwig who shake the airship. But like Boom Boom, they can go out in 3 hits if you don't give them the chance. The Koopalings are actually some of my favorite antagonists in the series, partially due to the Mario cartoon where they have more fleshed out personalities. But I just love the fact that Bowser has kids. In the games, while they're void of personality, they all have their own unique visual style to them, such as Lemmy and Iggy who have rainbow hair, which later on Iggy changes his hair to a green plant-like style in the new Super Mario Bros. Games. I personally like that they did that to help differentiate him from Lemmy. Mario 3 is what I personally call a perfect Mario game. Out of all the Super Mario Bros. Games, this is the one that I connect with the most. It's definitely the one I could recommend to anybody to this day in 2022. There's a variety of levels that you can breeze through or just skip them entirely. The game gives you a large amount of choice of how you want to play the game. With the largest amount of power-ups, the ability to choose from level to level, even skipping some, and the game is chock full of many secrets. And if you choose to play the game without skipping any levels, you're in for a huge treat. Traveling around the world map just to listen to the music, there's even a music box item that you could put Hammer Bros to sleep. There are so many secrets in Super Mario Bros. 3 that I ended up ordering a strategy guide when I was younger. I was so surprised to see how many secrets Mario 3 had that it was just incredible, and it made me appreciate strategy guides even more. But yeah, Super Mario Bros. 3 is probably the peak of the Super Mario Bros. Games. I would definitely recommend checking it out. This is a Mario game that should not be missed. If you guys loved my videos, please hit the like button and subscribe. And stay tuned for more videos to come. Take care, and go enjoy Super Mario Bros. 3, one of my most favorite games of all time.